8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news, edited by Danushka Madhawala and read by Indrani Senanayaka. The headlines. The President and the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry, discusses collaborative climate initiatives. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa proposed legislation for comprehensive regulation of microfinance institutions in Sri Lanka. Proposes to reduce school grades from 13 to 12. Landslide warning issued for several areas in the country. Sports Minister expresses hope that the suspension imposed by the International Cricket Council on Sri Lanka cricket will be lifted soon. In foreign news, 11 hikers killed at Merapi volcano erupts in Indonesia, and in sports news, Sri Lanka names a squad for the men's Under-19 Asia Cup. President Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in a crucial conversation today with U.S. Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry, emphasizing Sri Lanka's commitment to combating climate change through innovative initiatives. In the discussion, President Wickremesinghe outlined the government's ambitious proposals, prominently featuring the establishment of a climate change university. The President shed light on the comprehensive plan designed to address climate challenges and foster sustainable solutions. A major focal point of the conversation was the critical issue of raising the necessary funds to effectively tackle climate change. President Wickremesinghe stressed the imperative of private sector involvement to augment financial resources for climate-related projects. President Wickremesinghe extended an invitation to Mr. Kerry, urging him to visit Sri Lanka and witness firsthand the ongoing efforts and initiatives being taken by the country in its commitment to combat climate change. Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa unveiled plans to introduce a new legislative framework aimed at regulating microfinance institutions operating within the country. Expressing deep concern regarding the unregulated status of certain microfinance entities, Minister Rajapaksa emphasized the necessity for decisive measures. He underscored the intention to establish an independent regulatory institution distinct from the central bank, dedicated to the oversight and effective regulation of microfinance entities. Minister Rajapaksa made these remarks today during a press briefing at the President's Media Centre under the theme, Collective Path to a Stable Country. The Ministry of Education disclosed the proposed new educational reforms, stated that it is intended to reduce school grades from 13 to 12. This was disclosed on the 1st of this month at the time of presenting the progress of the year 2023 and plans for the year 2024 for the budget of the Ministry of Education by Dr. Susil Premajayantha for the Ministers, Members of Parliament. Accordingly, the Educational Authority stated that through the proposed new education reforms, every child will be given the opportunity to finish school in 17 years. Accordingly, preschool education is classified as 4 years old, primary section 1 to 5, junior section 6 to 8, and senior section 9 to 12. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and we continue local news. The National Building Research Organisation has issued a Level 3 red alert for landslide risks in the Pasbage Korle Divisional Secretariat Division in the Kandy district. The relevant landslide early warning will be in effect until 1 p.m. tomorrow. The warning states that since the rainfall within the past 24 hours has exceeded 150 millimeters, if the rains continue, people residing in the above areas are advised to evacuate to safer locations to avoid the risk of landslides, slope failures, cutting failures, and group subsidence. Minister of Sports Harin Fernandez says that he is hopeful that the suspension imposed by the International Cricket Council on Sri Lanka cricket would be lifted soon. Speaking during today's parliamentary session, The minister emphasized that he had an over-the-phone discussion with the ICC officials with regard to lifting the suspension imposed on Sri Lanka cricket. Commenting further in this regard, he also revealed that necessary steps will be taken within this week to get the ICC suspension on Sri Lanka cricket revoked. That ends the local segment of news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
The Minister of Education, Susil Premajayantha, said the Ministry of Education has taken measures to provide gift vouchers for shoes to 747,093 students of selected schools. The Education Minister said that the vouchers are to be distributed to students, monks and nuns of selected schools and pirivenas with severe difficulties and in rural areas. He further said that an expenditure of 2,200 million rupees has been incurred for this project and that a voucher is valued at 3,000 rupees. Arrangements have been made for eligible students to obtain the vouchers from stores registered with the Education Ministry. The relevant provincial, zonal and divisional education authorities have been instructed to inform students and their parents in this regard, while a circular has also been issued.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
We now take a look at Watchlight. Consumers say that they are facing severe hardships due to the increase in prices of vegetables in the market. Several trade associations of the Meegoda and Palyagoda economic centres said that it has been caused due to the shortage of vegetables in market owing to the present bad weather situation. Chairman of the Palyagoda Manning Market, H.M. Upasena, said that a reduction in the price of vegetables cannot be expected during the festive season due to many reasons, and that came to you in Watchlight. Now we take a look at world news. First, the headlines. 11 hikers killed as Merapi volcano erupts in Indonesia. Head of UN COP28 talks hits back at climate denial claims. Venezuelans back claim to Guyana-controlled Essequibo oil region. Eleven hikers have been found dead near the crater of Indonesia's Mount Merapi volcano after it erupted over the weekend. Rescuers say that 12 others are missing, and the search was suspended on Monday after another smaller eruption. There were 75 hikers in the area during the main eruption on Sunday, but most were safely evacuated. Merapi spewed a 3-kilometer ash cloud into the air, dimming the sky and blanketing surrounding villages in ash. It is among the most active of Indonesia's 127 volcanoes and is also popular among hikers. Some trails reopened only last June due to ash eruptions from January to February. Merapi's deadliest eruption occurred in 1979 when 60 people died. 3 people were rescued near the crater on Monday before the search was suspended. The president of the ongoing UN climate talks, Sultan Al-Jaber, has hit back at claims that he denies a core part of climate science. It follows his earlier comments that there was no science behind requiring the end of fossil fuels in order to limit temperature rise to 1.5 centigrade. The president today said that they very much believe and respect the science. The COP28 summit in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, aims to make progress on tackling climate change. All countries at the UN climate talks in 2015 agreed to slash releases of warming gases in order to keep the average global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees centigrade compared to pre-industrial levels. But in an online event on the 21st of November with Mary Robinson, the chair of the Elders Group and a former UN Special Envoy for Climate Change, Mr. Jaber appeared to deny that. Venezuelans who turned out to vote in a referendum on the status of a disputed oil-rich territory long controlled by Guyana have overwhelmingly backed Venezuela's territorial claim. More than 95% approved establishing a new Venezuelan state in the territory known as Essequibo. Guyana and British Guyana, before it, had have administered Essequibo for over a century. The referendum has ratcheted up tensions between the two neighbors. Critics of the Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro, said he called the non-binding referendum to whip up nationalist fervor and distract from calls for free and fair elections to be held. President Maduro, who had been in power since 2013, had urged people to turn out en masse and vote 5 times yes to the 5 questions his government had posed on the status of Essequibo. The 61,600 square mile region makes up 2/3 of the total of the land currently controlled by Guyana. To end this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. 11 hikers killed as Merapi volcano erupts in Indonesia. Head of UN COP28 talks hits back at climate denial claims. Venezuelans back claim to Guyana-controlled Essequibo oil region. That ends this bulletin of world news. We now take a look at development news. The Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industry, Mahinda Amarweera, said that the financial management success of the Department of Agrarian Development is spending the money allocated by the government for the year 2023 for the related projects is 100%. In the year 2023, the government has allocated 3,000 million rupees through the budget for many projects, such as the renovation of small tank systems and the provision for parachute discs to farmers. And now we take a look at sports news. The Sri Lanka Cricket Selection Committee selected the following 15-member squad to take part in the Under-19 Asia Cup, which will be played in Dubai. The squad was approved by the Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs, Harin Fernando. The team, captained by Sineth Jayawardena, will depart for the Asia Cup on Wednesday. Sports Minister Harin Fernando has announced the appointment of a new cricket selection committee. Former Sri Lankan captain Upul Tharanga will serve as the chairman of the new cricket selection committee.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Ryanair passengers say the airline has come up with a scandalous new extra fee after they were charged to get their boarding passes online. Unhappy travellers have taken to social media to express their frustration, saying they were required to pay up to £21 for a seat booking in order to access an e-boarding pass. The alternative was to queue for a paper pass at the airport. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And now in economic news.
Swedish music streaming giant Spotify has announced it is cutting 17% of its workforce, about 1,500 jobs, as the company seeks to clamp down on costs. Chief Executive Daniel Ek said he had made the difficult decision with economic growth slowing dramatically. Spotify employs about 9,000 people, and Mr. Ek said substantial action to right-size their costs was needed for the company to meet its objectives. He added he understood the cuts would be incredibly painful for their team. That was economic news. And finally, we take a look at the weather report. The cyclonic storm Migjaum over southwest Bay of Bengal has become a severe cyclonic storm and was located at 11:30 a.m. today, about 440 kilometers northeast of Jaffna. The system is expected to intensify further and move northwards away from Sri Lanka and cross the South Andhra Pradesh coast tomorrow. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamu, central and southern provinces. Several spells of showers can be expected in the northwestern and northern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere after 1 p.m. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. The President and the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry, discuss collaborative climate initiatives. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa proposed legislation for comprehensive regulation of microfinance institutions in Sri Lanka. Proposes to reduce school grades from 13 to 12. Landslide warning issued for several areas in the country. Sports Minister expresses hope that the suspension imposed by the International Cricket Council on Sri Lanka cricket would be lifted soon. In foreign news, 11 hikers killed as Merapi volcano erupts in Indonesia. And in sports news, Sri Lanka names the squad for the men's Under-19 Asia Cup. That ends tonight's news broadcast. The time reads a minute after 9. This is Radio Sri Lanka.